button, and there we go. That is so cool. I love that when things just work out. So right now, the vibes of what is going on with the bandwidths are working. So that's something to celebrate, right? Well, good morning, everyone. This is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss, live from Vero Beach. Just came from Pickle U with Two
Sisters. Hey, good morning, everyone. It's Janice, AKA Wellness Diva 5.0. And when I'm doing the, and there's going to be a lot of noise, so you'll hear me muting myself from time to time. But when I go on the live process to get everything up and running, I put just when you thought, ... And I'm going to turn it over to Carol Sue for just a moment.
And there we go, because it is Fantabulous Friday, ... And, you know, what do those dots mean? You know, we frequently talk about every single day, Monday through Friday, we have a different theme, and it is the culmination of Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday that brings us to Friday. And when we talk about have a Fantabulous Friday, it's for you to celebrate your wins, celebrate, you know, maybe you came out of your comfort zone, maybe you tackled a project, maybe you just started a new fitness. We've been really working hard on our land and water challenge that's coming up soon, and we're going to get some information out about that. But, you know, it felt good to kind of map out kind of what we're doing a little bit differently. So that was one of the things that I checked off. What did you check off this week? Again, it could have been something that you wanted to reorganize, redirect, reconfigure, especially with your brain. We chatted yesterday a lot about some really important things that are going on in New England. Sometimes those topics are tough, they're hard, they're very emotional, they're filled with passion, and they always come from a good spot, because we always want to make sure that our viewers and our listeners are well aware and well abreast of what's going on. No, not just about like nationally, but from your own state, from your own local government, from your own community, because those things, those situations do impact your health and wellness. Well, how can politics certainly talk about, have any input on your health and wellness? Well, we're here to kind of share how it does. Who, and think about this. Have you felt stress over the last year? Have you felt anxiety? Maybe it's fear, maybe it's anxiousness. Mm-hmm. Fear to even go out of your own home. So all these things were really derived from what our world was impacted with over the last 14 months, 15 months. And it has had some immediate effects, but the broader view on that is, what are the long-term effects? So think about when you've gone through a trying time. Could be a death, it could be a position changed in your field. Maybe it's you were doing really well in this career, but then because of the last 15 months, you had to pivot somewhere else, and you're still like, is it working? Is this really what I want to do? You know, providing for your home, your family, your loved ones. All those things are a direct correlation between what was going on in our world and how it impacted us individually. So when we were chatting yesterday about what is going on in New England, and obviously you heard the passion, you heard, you know, basically a plea to all of you to really open up your minds and be in tune to what's going on in your own community. And it's not just to get in the political ring to have that political discussion that a lot of people don't want to have. Politics does not have to have a red line or a blue line, but it does have a red, white, and blue multicolored fashion of who we are as Americans. And when I think of the upcoming holiday that we are going to be celebrating, Memorial Day, that is not for current vets. Those are people that actually didn't come back from the war, the multiple wars that we had. They were standing up for our Constitution, our rights. And from my perspective, and from what we were sharing and chatting about yesterday, how do we uphold their memory, and how do we add value and of what the ultimate sacrifice of life that they gave up for us, if we're not doing our own due diligence as citizens to know what's going on, not just on a national stage, but your own community. And over the last week, I was flabbergasted, I still am, that so many people do not know anything about critical race theory, do not understand what's going on within their own communities of bills that are really on point to be voted on. And these are things that you need to know because they do impact, they do whittle away and they chip away at your rights, my rights, parents' rights, grandparents' rights. And the point being is you have to really understand that all of that, whether you want to have the conversation or not, does impact your health and wellness. So how do we kind of resolve and come to terms with all of that junk in our health and wellness and coming together on a Friday to have a Fantabulous Friday to celebrate what we accomplished when all that other stuff was going on? So when I look about yesterday, I celebrate that I hopefully in our podcast, our Two Sister podcast, hopefully enlightened people and opened up people's bubble worlds to know what's going on. And that feels good to do that. It's not about making a political statement. It's about making sure that our listeners and our viewers are very well abreast. And if they're not, maybe it's time that you really kind of looked in your own backyard, looked on what's going in your particular town, your particular state. We know, and we chat about, and all through Monday through Friday, it's really about knowing that we're not in control because, we're not legislators, we're not the doctors, we're not the scientists, but what we are in control is what we do with the information. Do we have an open mind? And in order to see all sides, to see all points of views, if your mind is not open to listen, to have that conversation, instead of just, scrolling through, someone's posting about, what's going on in our world, or, a political post, or what's going on national level, local level. Yeah, I'm just going to I don't want to talk about politics. I don't want to do that. That is the complacency that people that live in that bubble, that is what they're dealing with right now. And what we are trying to share and impact is that when you become complacent, you're part of the problem. Not only for others, for yourself, for your own family, for your own health and wellness and well-being. I'd rather have the tough conversations. I'd rather have someone open my mind or share a different perspective to educate myself and to always know what's going on, even though I may not be able to control it. But by tuning it out, I'm doing a disservice to myself, to my family. I don't know. What do you think about that, Jan?
Well, I know sometimes, and you and I have, especially when last year, when the presidential election was heating up, like before we would get on, I would say, I don't want to talk about this. I don't want to talk about that, blah, blah, blah. And that was my way. And I want to say this in the most respectful way to viewers and listeners out there that may suffer from, because I know I have, okay, I need to take a break from this. I get that. So that was my way of saying to myself, I need to take a break from this. But having those hard conversations also opened up my mind to different things that are happening in the world. So if you do have to take a hiatus from the information, I get it. Sometimes we need to do that, but don't do it to the extent where it really wreaks havoc on your health. I do have to limit my exposure, not only because of that, but I'm very busy. My day is do. I have it mapped out. I have a schedule I have to follow. So, during the winter time, well, that was true when I broke my foot, the TV was on a lot because there wasn't a lot I could do physically. But I did come to the point where I'm like, okay, got to turn the TV off. Done. So be your own advocate, take that opportunity to learn. It's always going to be difficult to have a difficult conversation.
Absolutely.
I think I had one a couple days ago. That's okay. But be open to the receiving. Now, the receiving part of that is not hearing, it's listening.
And there's a difference. There is a definite difference, and we frequently talk about that hearing and listening are two different things. Let's paint the picture for everyone, right? And I think most women can agree, they kind of have that type of conversation with the hubs, right? Or with your partner. You're chatting, you're talking, and you realize that the person that you're kind of chatting and talking with, they're not engaging. Maybe their head is down looking at their phone or reading something or staring out into, the universe, space, whatever. And you say, hey, did you hear what I said? Yeah. They heard you. Subconsciously, they did hear you, even though they were multitasking, but they weren't listening. Because frequently, a lot of times, I'll play the game with John. He gets a little annoyed sometimes, but let's play the game of, are you listening? And, I'll say something really outrageous. When I'm in the middle of a conversation, I realize he's not engaging or he's not looking at me. Then my next sentence will be something. I want you all to try this. If you're feeling the same thing that I'm chatting about, like you feel like I'm not being heard, I'm not being listened to. And I'll say something like really outrageous and, oh, okay. And I'm like, really? That's kind of interesting. You would like to see me running outside naked. He goes, what did you just say? I go, that's what I just said to you. And he goes, well, why would you run around naked? I'm like, oh,
sidebar. I got a funny story. Well, this has nothing to do with nothing, but it does have something to do with this. Had typical conversation with my hubs, and we're running out of Frosty Paws for the dogs. I make them. I can't say it too loud because they know what that means. So I say to him last night, and we just had come from the grocery store and we bought some new bananas. There's 2 really big bananas that are to the point where you can make banana bread. That's one of the ingredients. I said, remember, tomorrow morning, meaning this morning, don't use those bananas because I'm going to use them because I got to make more Frosty Paws.
Right.
So I know he was listening to me. So this morning he left to go to the Galapalooza, and I come back after doing my workouts in the loft, and I see there's one missing banana, and I'm like, son of a gun. So he comes back and we're chatting. I said, hey, how come you use the banana? Well, he says, we got to use those up. And I said, well, I said last night, oh, I thought I heard you. And he was correct. He did hear me, but because of he does have a hearing problem. And I'm not using that as an excuse. He heard me, but he wasn't listening.
Right, and comprehending. And that's why listening is actually comprehending what the other person is saying. And again, that leads to, what can it lead to? It could lead to, the other person being frustrated. You're just kind of going around in circles and having that chat. Well, guess what? Crap like that affects your health and wellness. You get frustrated, right? You get mad. You're like, damn, I want to be heard. Well, actually, I want to be heard and listened to, okay? Put it all together.
Okay. Yeah, okay. And so this is another one, but this has really nothing to do about nothing.
Oh, God, we're on a path of that.
So laundry, right?
Oh, God.
Here's what kind of annoys me. It's funny, but it annoys me. And I'm like, why even say it to him? Like, it's not even worth it, right? So when he takes his socks off, they're inside out.
Oh, I hate that.
But the problem with it is he's outside all day long working on outside. He's in the dirt, he's doing whatever, you can hear him doing stuff. So, he gets dirt and whatever in his sock. So I go to, and it's
with dirt.
so my laundry basket has dirt in it. Oh, one more annoyance. I was talking about annoyances.
Fantabulous Friday turned into.
We're talking about annoyances with our husbands.
Right.
So this happened the other day, and I've said this to him numerous times, but it is funny when obviously the asparagus crop is coming up, so he'll go out there and cut. So I said to him about 2 months ago, hey, remember when you bring that in, put it in a bag or put it the dirty part in a container, because when you just throw it in the bin, like that's more work for me because everything gets dirty. So I go into that particular drawer yesterday. There's asparagus in there, but there's dirt all over the place. Like, what the heck?
Because he wasn't listening. He heard you, but he wasn't comprehending, he wasn't listening. So, I mean, that is part of, we can even take that piece of it and, upscale that to, what we're chatting about, your health and wellness, and relating to, being in tune and listening and understanding. A sidebar, going back to yesterday's conversation regarding that New England state, we did have a few people message regarding the bill numbers. And this is the tricky piece, and most people, living in their community might not be aware of. And we love to share the knowledge that we learn and that we investigate on. Many times, and this goes across the United States, many times when a bill is introduced and they have to make a change, whether it be a verbiage change, a meaning change, adding, deleting, whatever, a lot of times they will actually change the bill number. So you have to know that. So when we're talking about different bills, and those three particular nasty bills that are on the agenda or on the Senate table floor, whatever, that are trying to be introduced, have not been voted on, I will say that much, actually have the original numbers are different from the original act/bill. And what I think people are realizing, as they learn different pieces of what is going on within their community, they say, okay, we see so many people on social media platforms, and they're sharing the information kind of like what we do individually as well as jointly with TwoSistas, and that's not enough. When you really want your voice to be heard, and you have the right to have your voice be heard, because we had men and women die for that right. That's what we're going to be celebrating Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. How do you go about doing that when you're one person? And that is the whole point of having that conversation. So the old school about, I don't really want to talk about politics. I don't want to get into the controversy of it. Know this much. It doesn't have to be a controversy. If you're very postured and you know that you've investigated and or researched, but then you're actually now chatting with someone else that maybe have a different point of view, maybe have a different perspective, take that time, because I can guarantee you when you open up the conversation in a postured way from each end, you will walk away from that table, that couch, that engagement, learning something. Maybe something small, maybe something big, maybe understanding, but you will go away. And if you even go away with just understanding that person's perspective, you'll learn something, right? That's what conversation and engagement and listening to each other. And I think that's part of the problem, what's going on in our country, is people are hearing the noise. So what do? Instead of hearing it, they're blocking the noise instead of saying, I don't want to hear it anymore, but I want to listen. There's a message within what anyone, even if it's a totally different perspective, even if it's something that you don't want to hear about, I guarantee you, when you open up your mindset, you're going to feel better about it, because now you're going to be either more informed, you're going to maybe understand from a perspective that you weren't really privy to and or maybe knew, or it might engage you and enlighten you and ignite, hey, I can't just keep listening anymore. I gotta take action because that's what I'm in control of. So what kind of actions did we talk about yesterday? There are many people that you can write to, you can email, you can call. So if you disagree with a bill that's within your local state, don't wait for the next person. Don't become complacent and say, somebody else will take care of it. Yeah, I don't really know enough about it. You should know because it involves not only you, which ultimately is going to affect your health and wellness, it's also going to impact the people that you love, the people that you care about, the people that you're trying to make a difference for. And besides the message of a Fantabulous Friday and going after those goals and dreams and things that we want that we don't want to bury in the graveyard, so should be our attitude of what we're going to leave this world and who are we going to leave it to. Are we going to leave it in good hands with people that are knowledgeable, that care about our Constitution, that care about the well-being of our children? Our children are the future. But if we don't get involved, we stay in that little bubble, we're doing a disservice to not only them, to ourselves and to future generations. And that weighs heavy on your heart, weighs heavy on mine. I know it impacts the way I feel. How about you, Jim?
Yes. And, I will just reiterate again that it's okay to take a break, but don't let that moment pass you by to have that conversation. Don't let life pass you by in a way that doesn't really suit you. And the other thing is, to honor your feelings, but also honor the feelings of someone that you are chatting with. And, no matter how tough that it gets out there, there's always a way to respond in a respectful manner. And yes, we were passionate yesterday. I mean, I think maybe one was probably the first time that I was like, I was actively engaged in my feelings for what is transpiring. I can only be me, but I can make a difference.
And there's something to be celebrated when you really think about that. Instead of having that mentality like I'm only one, I'm one of many. So celebrate that and say, you know what, I'm going to do my part. Because when I get excited, I'm going to do my part and saying, I called these people, or I called my Congress, or I called, my local municipality or the state municipality and said, no, I don't agree. I want to have parents have their rights available to be parents and not have the rights taken away regarding their minor children. You're going to feel good that you participated. It's kind of like we all know that we earn the right to vote, but people fought for us to have that right. And I know every election that I take part in, I always feel really good that I take my vote seriously, that, I'm doing my civil duty because men and women died for that right. And it always brings me back to, so I think of those that lost their life, which we celebrate, as we said, on Memorial Day. I don't think of them just on Memorial Day. I think of them every time I vote. Shouldn't we all do that? Shouldn't you, when you go vote, think of the men and women that died for your right?
I think about that Lee Greenwood song, and as Gary and I and GA all went together early on voting day, and we were standing in the long line. But as we were driving there, I played that on my cell phone. I won't forget the men who died, who gave that right to me. It is a right to vote. Now, without getting into it, because I could talk about the election for eons, without getting into a full-blown discussion or, me blabbing along here, what I said after that was, well, if my vote isn't going to be counted, I'm not going to vote again. And I stood on that for a while. And I truly, honestly felt like that. But here's the point. If I don't vote, my vote will not be counted. We technically don't know where all our votes go. So I'm just, I can't default my right and privileges just because I feel that it's not going anywhere, I guess is what I'm trying to say in a roundabout way. So yes, I will continue to vote. Did I feel like I did not want to vote? Absolutely. I'm being totally transparent. You know,
right. And I'm sure many people did. And it goes further than just the voting piece to it. It's really understanding. And you don't have to spend, like a lot of, well, it doesn't take a lot of time. It doesn't take a lot of time to know what's going on within your own local government. If you're unsure, you contact somebody that's a representative within your own town and say, hey, you know what? I haven't really been in tune to what's going on, but I understand, and I'm going to obviously you correlate that with what we were chatting about yesterday. I understand there is 3 very questionable bills slash acts that are being presented to the Senate. As a parent and a resident, I do not agree that my rights as a parent should be pushed to the side and A, B, and C, and D. And this is the reason why. It doesn't take long. So what I'm saying about getting involved and being in the know, I'm not saying that you got to spend the hours that, you know, we kind of investigate what we're going to chat about sometimes we don't, meaning that maybe one of us has done the research, but the other one doesn't know that's where the conversation is going to go. And that's what makes us authentically us. But what I am saying is too many times over the last year, I specifically have heard, oh, I don't want to talk politics. You know, it's not worth friendships. It's not worth, well, if you have that mentality going in, you're doing a disservice to even the person that you want to chat with. Because I don't think knowingly anyone wants a controversial, angry conversation, but they do want to have the conversation. They want to know, you know, what you feel, because they care about the person that they're having, that they're engaging. And yeah, sometimes it may get heated, but heated doesn't necessarily have to mean, you know, hostility and anger. You're heated because you're passionate about your perspective, but also know that you got to kind of take a step back and let the other person, after they've listened to your perspective, now guess what? You got to reciprocate. You got to now be the listener and listen to where they're coming from, even though you might not agree with, because I guarantee you when you do, you're going to leave with better knowledge and understanding from a different perspective, even if the action still leads you to that you don't agree. It's okay. Now, there are a lot of times that we talk about during the course of our podcast in its existence, the whole, well, I don't want to talk about politics, or I don't want to, you know, does it really impact my health and wellness, which we've already covered that ground. Of course it does. But the one specific that we also have chatted about with, it's okay if your ideologies are so different that it leads you to another journey, another path, that you have to kind of put that person to the side. Because again, if it's impacting you in such a way that's stressful, that's adding frustration, those are not good, healthy things to be feeling. And if the person that you're trying to have that conversation with, that's where it continually leads, like you've tried 3 and 4 times, and it's still, you're still butting heads to the point that it's adding stress to your life or anger or just, it's okay to say, you know what? Our ideologies are really far apart right now. I hope someday that, you know, maybe we can slowly get back to a better, healthy spot. And you can either verbalize it, or you can just slowly back away and say, you know what, this person's not adding value to my life or adding joy. It's okay that you can actually have people that add joy and impact your life, and you can still disagree. But if it comes to the point where you're not there's no value and there's never any joy, that's the time to say, I got to back away from this relationship. It's not doing my health any justice. And it's kind of like the humanity thing to do, because you're probably not adding joy to their life. And it's okay to recognize that. Don't you think, Jen?
True that. And as you were saying that, I kind of looked, I often refer to Daddy in the picture behind me, but I was specifically looking at Mommy's picture, and I kind of started laughing to myself because along with you being a firecracker, me being the sparkler, she was the whole 4th of July. And if she was having a conversation with somebody and she was always eloquent in her delivery, but if she did not like the answer, I want to talk to your supervisor.
Yeah.
So that's why I was kind of snickering.
Yeah,
So,
that was her mentality. I mean, she really was, when we think about the blessings, she was the first entrepreneur that, our own mother was an entrepreneur in a time where there weren't a lot of women entrepreneurs,
right.
let's be real. And we always said she was always born in the wrong decade. And I often frequently sit in quiet to think of, how, there's the saying, what would God do? What would Jesus do? A lot of times I find myself saying, what would Mommy do? What would Daddy do? And they were complete opposites, but they were also complete in line with them being complete opposites, which doesn't always happen. So where Daddy would be more like the sparkler, he could flip a switch, maybe would see it maybe once a decade, but when he was mad, he was mad. Now on the other side, Mom always wore her heart on her sleeve and her emotions. And what I'm grateful and blessed about was, we have a nice combination of both of them within us, and it transcends in our podcast. And that means so much, I think, to both of us.
Yeah, it does. And I'm just I was also thinking about all the family birthday wishes on Monday when it was my birthday. And it was also Brother's Day or something like that.
Yes, it was National Brothers Day, these made up holidays.
And I posted a funny picture of that in that chat. And I said, yeah, and the fact that I never ever had a second date. Well, then Fran and Victor and then Victor's response was hysterical. I was cracking up, but then it made sense to me. They were saying, well, the reason, if the reason that you didn't have a second date was because Fran did this, and then Fran was saying, no, you did this, and then you did this. And that time that you went out to check the gas in the guy's car, and so Victor made a comment, well, the point is you didn't have a second date, but you really shouldn't have had a first date. I was correct.
Their mentality, I crack up, but we were blessed. We were blessed with good siblings and a good mom and dad, and the joy that we feel that they're together, helps us through still going through all these different firsts. And how many can you relate to? I mean, how many of you are now celebrating, Memorial Day, which is, the importance of it is for those that died for our rights. But on the other side, it's like the official, everyone kind of the unofficial or official opening of summer. And, how many of us can relate to, those cookouts and those gatherings, and now your loved ones, this is the first time they're not present for that gathering. So, celebrate them, on this Fantabulous Friday, but especially on Memorial Day, you celebrate the goodness and the memories and the love that you have and that is still there. Yeah, your heart's going to tug. Of course it will. Ours does too. But we would be doing a disservice if we didn't celebrate and kind of joke and reminisce and, share those memories, because that's certainly what helps. And those are things that should be celebrated. So on this Friday, if you have this Friday, what are you might be working on? What's going on for the weekend? Maybe it's a cookout. Maybe you are visiting a cemetery and you're going to spruce it up, add some flowers and some American flags. Those are all things to be joyous of and to give thanks for. And we hope that this particular Fantabulous Friday, going into this long weekend for many of you, that you do celebrate all your wins and celebrate, your losses too, because it's okay that, it didn't work out that way. Guess what? You've got next week to jump back on and switch that thing around, right? So on that note, this is Carol Sue, AKA Naughty Boss, live from a very beautiful, gorgeous Vero Beach Day here with Two
Sisters. And hey, everyone, this is Janice, aka Wellness Diva 5.0. You have a fantabulous Friday, and it's okay to start wearing the color white.
That's right.
Remember, there was that unspoken rule you couldn't wear white until after Memorial Day. Screw it. Wear it today.
Yeah. Wear it today. And we will see you Monday. Monday is a holiday, but guess what? We will still be on bright and early wishing you, and maybe bring, a special feeling to, understanding the difference between Memorial Day and Veterans Day. A lot of people kind of mishmash the two, and they each have their own place and their own right to be celebrated and memorized, or memorialized, I should say. With that, we will see you on Monday. You have a great weekend. Be healthy, pay it forward, be kind. Remember, you're not in control of what's always going around you, but you are in control of how you act and how you react. We'll see you on Monday. Bye-bye.